Howdy, people. Welcome to Feisty Chess. It's been some time off. I've been on vacation. We've been paired as white here against Zelap on leechess.org. So, haven't played in a while. Sicilian. Let's do that Morra Gambit thing. There's lots to discover in the Morra Gambit. Let's see if he accepts. Alright, knight takes c3, and here we go. So we're going to bring our knight to f3, our bishop to c4. Looks like he might be going for the Taylor defense. No, we're going to have a regular sort of main line. Okay, main line with a6. We still continue with our plan. Queen e2, rook come to d1. I think I might have faced this line on this very channel here. So, right, rook d1 is good here. And then maybe we'll take a break to assess, depending on what he does. Okay, I know what to do here. So the rule in the Morra is just stay on that black queen. Black's queen has a hard time finding a comfortable place. Okay, he's got his rook on d1. This pawn, however, is still pinned, and we can get our rooks. We can get our rooks on their natural files here, and yeah, I like the looks of this. And this will open up the threat of knight to d5. Okay, he goes to b6. Maybe knight d5 anyway here. Let me look at this. You always want to keep an eye on knight d5 in the Morra. So here we go. Knight d5. Obviously the critical move is e takes d5. And then I've got e takes d5, threatening his knight. If his knight comes to... He's in check, so he needs to move his knight to e5 or e7. If he goes to e5, I can take with either the knight or the bishop. And yeah, I generally like the looks of things there. If he goes to e7, then he's on my pawn a couple of times. Well, no, he's pinned there. If he goes to e7, that removes a defender from d6. Okay, knight to d5. Looks like it might be unclear at this point. Actually, you know what? Bishop to e3 looks really powerful. It would force the queen to a5, because if he comes back to c7, then I've got knight d5 for sure. So I'm going to put my bishop here. Okay, he does come there. Now I think knight, my f3 knight can move, mainly to make way for my f4 pawn. My bishop watches over that diagonal now, so I don't need to move my king. It's a question of knight g5 or knight to knight g5 or knight to d4, allowing the trade of some pieces. I mean, I can also look at knight d5 here. Knight g5. He can just take. That's the critical line. Taking on d4. Knight d4, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4. I can maybe go e5, and I'd have a positional advantage. Could also just go knight f6, and I could take on f6, Force him to retake with his pawn. I like the looks of knight g5 better. Doesn't give him the option of taking. And that would also open up his bishop's attack on this. So, yeah, let's go with knight g5. And we've got sacrificial ideas on e6 with both bishop takes and knight takes. We've also got plans of f4, f5 to try to crack open the center while black's king is still in it. Notice how his queen side is developed here, but his king side is way behind, and he's got a long way to go to try to get castled. Okay, he's guarding it with knight h6. I'm not sure that helps him if I want to, say, sacrifice here right now with the bishop. And then I end up with a knight here. I think I might want to get f4 in before I do that, though, because that way I could support a knight here with f5. I also could try e5 here. That would allow his knight over here more scope. And he could just play d5 in response. So that can't be too good. Yeah, I could really crack open the whole position. Ooh. Knight takes. Pawn takes. Bishop takes h6. I got a lot of possibilities here with bishop takes h6 without playing f4. There's knight takes e6. He really has to take. And then after bishop takes, pawn takes, I've got queen check. And after king to e7, okay, bishop takes, pawn takes, knight takes. He should move that rook. And I'll still have bishop takes after that. Bishop takes h6, sorry. Knight, bishop takes. Do I want to sacrifice the knight or the bishop? That's the question. I think I like the knight better on that square. It's going to be concrete, though. Let's look at taking the knight. Sorry, taking with the knight. Knight takes e6. F takes e6. Bishop to e6. And he's not forced to do anything immediate, but he has to move his bishop, say, to e7 to get castled. And then he doesn't have any good moves with his knight. I'm looking at that knight on h6, so I'll still have time to take that knight on h6, it looks like. Say bishop e7, and then bishop takes h6. Yeah, I'm looking at more mate threats with the bishop left, and he'll never castle with the bishop on that diagonal. If I take with the bishop and with a knight, he probably plays rook d7 after knight takes e6, and then bishop takes, I've got queen h5, then he's got rook d7 check. So I like the idea of taking with the knight here. Let's do it. This is a feisty one. Okay, I could go for this immediately. Is there any benefit to taking this knight off on h6 immediately? I don't think so. That knight's not a problem right now. Let's just get in there with this. Now my knight can spring to d5 as needed. Okay, he wants to be able to block the check on g6. And presumably to take on d5 if I should do that. But if he wants to take my knight on d5, he'll have to allow me opening up the e-file. So knight d5, that threatens bishop here. So if he takes with the bishop, I recapture. I'm still shutting down that knight with this bishop, but I'm threatening taking here. So I like the looks of that. Also builds a nice net around his king. I also have taking immediately. But then knight d5 wouldn't come with any kind of threat. Take, queen here, check, knight back. My queen's already usefully placed on the e-file. Let's just sink our knight in. He'll probably take. Okay, now we take with this pawn. And our bishop is supported and the e-file is opened. I might think about ideas like b4. I don't think queen takes a2 is even worthy of consideration for him, given all the problems he has with his king. I suppose bishop e7 solves a lot of those problems, but the nice thing about that bishop on e6 is he's never getting castled. Okay, I am down a piece for a pawn, and down on some time here too. Do I have any useful rook lifts? Okay, I got bishop takes h6, g takes h6, f4. He might have... I got f4 right now. I got f4 immediately. Knight to c4. Can I sack the exchange there? Rook takes c4, b takes c4, and then simply, let's look at this, f4, knight c4, rook takes c4, b takes c4, f5, that looks pretty strong. But let's see. I got bishop takes. Any queen check, I can simply come back to h1. So maybe bishop takes immediately. Bishop takes h6, g takes h6, f4. And then if knight c4, I can go for the queen check immediately, and that just leads to mate. And a queen check on b6 thrown in there doesn't change that, doesn't change matters. So let's go ahead and chomp on h6. And now f4. And if the knight here, the trick is if the knight comes here, I just play f5. So yeah, f4 looks really strong. If the knight goes anywhere but... Well, let's see, the knight could come to f7. It probably needs to come to f7. And then queen h4 is met by castling. I don't think this works for him. I think I've just got f5. And if he goes knight to... I see, the idea of knight f4. So f5, knight f4, and then queen g4. Any queen checks I can just slide her on over. He might be able to give the piece back in some way, but at that point, I've just got a dominating position, right? I could play queen h5 right now. Queen h5, though, allows him king f8, and then f5 can be met by knight e5. So I'm going for g5, f5 here, just maintaining the pressure. Okay, well this should lead to simple mate, right? Or he's got to give the knight back up. He has to play knight g6. Oh, no, he's guarding that mating square, of course. Okay. Well, I might as well grab here and at least repeat. I can get my pawn to f7. f6, bishop f8. f7 check. That's a mate. King e7. And then queen g5, or even queen h4 would be a mate. So, yeah, this looks very strong. Threatening. Oh, he's got the knight. He's got the knight that can do that. But once the E and F files get cleared off, I've got my rooks ready to pounce in. Okay, but he's gonna walk into this checkmate. No, it's not a mate, but I got to imagine my rooks are coming in with such force that I can sacrifice this pawn. Oh, actually, queen... Okay, let's look at this. Queen h5. Then he's got to block with knight g6. And then f7 check. This one move is king e7. And I have that same mate on g5. Look at that again. Queen h5 check. Knight g6, only move. f7 check. King e7, only move. And queen g5 is mate. So let's do it. Here we go. Awesome. I love the Smith Morra Gambit. Thank you, Zelap, for the game. Let's look at it. Yeah, this game really illustrates well the Smith Morra Gambit and why it's a thing. I mean, it looks like White's just giving up a pawn, of course, and he is. But the idea is White's ready to he's way more developed already. He has a pawn in the center. His both of his bishops are ready to come out. He has a knight developed. Of course, that's his extra move at play. But we compare this position. Both sides have a knight developed, but one side already has a pawn in the center. Bishops are ready to come out. Black has not made any steps toward castling, and that really shows itself in this game. So white, I mean, my pieces are just coming out one after another. Every move is a developing move. The exception of that move here. So here each side has made 10 moves. White just has two pieces left to develop, the bishop on c1 and the rook on a1. And black has to develop both of his rooks, both of his kingside minor pieces, and his king. So he's got 5 pieces left to develop. And black has that extra pawn, but white has more space. Now white's fully developed. Black still has that whole kingside to develop. So sacrificing a piece in this kind of situation is often promising. Now black will never castle. This is a common theme in the Morra. Remember, I wanted to make sure I could sacrifice on e6, that was a possibility. So a move like knight d4 would allow him to trade. I'm not on the analysis board yet. Let's jump over to the analysis board. Let's shut the computer off for now. Okay, so knight d4 would allow him to simply trade. And white's good here. White's good, but knight f6 or even e5 would sort of give a positional concession in the form of this d5 square. But yeah, black maintains his extra pawn, and I've got nothing. I mean, I've got compensation. We can look at the computer evaluation here. More than enough compensation for the pawn. Ooh, and it hates this move because of queen h5. Interesting. Okay, so even when it looks like the position is shut down, there's still plenty of tactics. Wow. Queen h5, I've got to see this. What about g6? Because now 2 pieces are attacked. Queen f3, threatening the mate. And knight f6 is not available anymore, so f5 is forced. Now just knight d5. Let that bishop on d4 hang, because we're threatening this check. And if takes, then we're opening up the e-file. Interesting. There's all sorts of dynamic potential in the Morra, as you can see. But even here would have been fine. I wonder if the computer preferred. No, it likes knight g5. It says there's a 2-pawn advantage here. This sacrificial idea can't really be stopped. It likes knight f6. He was watching over f7, but he didn't see that I was planning on sacking on e6. So this is a huge advantage for white. I found the right line. Knight takes, and then bishop takes. And that bishop is just dominating the entire board and keeping black's king out of safety. Knight e5. Likes b4 here, giving my bishop access to b6. b4 first, then bishop takes a6. h6. Okay, knight d5 wasn't the most powerful continuation, but it was thematic and good enough. I was glad I was able to open up that e-file. That didn't actually end up coming into play in the game, but it gave black extra stuff to think about. Yeah, and that knight, I mean, he might be best off playing a knight to f7 here. Oh, then that one's getting kicked. What's the best line here? This is... Oh. We just take and... A neat little mate with the bishop sacrifice. Important pattern to keep in mind. These positions come up a lot in my Morra games, so... Oh, it doesn't like this, actually. It says it throws away some advantage. G takes h6. Did I play something unsound here? I played f4 here, if I remember. Okay. Interesting. Okay. The computer evaluates this position as plus 2.4, and then once I play f4, it's like, oh, 4.5. That shouldn't change that direction, right? It should only change, on white's move, it should only change in black's direction, I would think. But yeah, it's a huge swing. So knight f7, bishop f7, king f7, and then queen comes in for a check. King f8, queen takes h6, check. And we got a couple of pawns for that piece now. And the black king is still not looking happy. Back to e6 now. King f8. Rook e1. Yeah, rook e8. He's got to go into a pin. And I would think just f5, f6 is the idea here, but it wants rook to c3 with the idea of the rook coming here to really lay things on this pin. Queen d8, and then we still got a pin. King g7. Still a pin, thank you very much. But rook g3, yeah, there's just a lot of ways for white to win this, even though he's down a piece. Okay. Yeah, an active position like this, I mean, you sacrifice a piece, there's lots of lines, but those lines tend to favor the attacker. This is a mistake. f5. Yeah, knight f4 is a line I looked at more closely. Knight e5 though makes sense too because he still watches over f7. Queen h5 check, king f8. But I think I found the right way to go about this. That f pawn is also an important attacking piece, right? That's as important as any other piece on the board right now. Yeah, queen b6 check, king h1, rook a8. To try to give the rook a8 idea, to try to give the king more space is necessary here. But I'm just winning that bishop back and with a completely dominating position with black's king still stuck in the center. So it's a demoralizing concession to have to make, to just give back the piece. So most players aren't going to do that. And then here sets up this mate in 3 that I was able to find with that nice idea that I'd found earlier. So yeah, nice little mate there. I like that. It's pretty. And it's a clean mate too, meaning every square is hit only once. Queen guards this square and that square. The bishop guards this pawn. This pawn guards this bishop. The bishop guards that square. The pawn guards this square. And every other square that would be available to the black king is occupied by a piece. Although that one, maybe it's not clean, because the queen would get that one too. So it's always exciting to have a pretty mate. I wanted to look at let's see, this other line going back here. Instead of knight g6, looking at knight f7. Go back further. Okay. We did look at this already. Knight f7. Yeah, we looked at this, and this is where we get that pin on e7. What if he tries something like this? Oh, queen h6 just picks it up. Okay. Is there anything I missed here? I feel like... Oh, knight f4. That's what it was. All right, because this attacks the queen and also guards over h5. So queen f3, Apparently good enough. Probably queen g4 does the same thing. Let's look at the queen f3 line. Queen b6. And we just slide our king over, enduring one spite check. Bishop g5. But h4. I didn't actually see the bishop g5 idea. h4. And this can only hold out so long. Bishop f6. Queen takes f4. Yeah, and we've equalized on material. We haven't equalized. We're up a couple pawns here. Bishop g7 looks good to try to guard h6, but it's met with f6. So yeah, this looks really bad. Really bad for black. Just looking at it, there's just no good moves available. Maybe rook f8. But then just queen takes h6. Got another pawn for our troubles. And we could even have this idea of g4, g5. We can put a rook on e8. On e1 and set up all sorts of discoveries. You grab on h7. I mean, there's just take your pick of ways to win this. Okay. Looks like the... Okay. Let's get back to the game line here. Yeah, I might have missed some other more forcing lines. We don't need to take time to look at those. Again, when the computer... I mean, everything checks out in the sense that if we look at the computer analysis, even the mistakes we made were game-winning mistakes, probably, that just lowered the computer evaluation, but might have been a clearer victory from a human perspective. So, very happy with that game. So far, looking good on average centipawn loss. But that's not the main metric. In fact, let's ignore that. I think this game was a great game. And how I conducted the attack, and finding some winning lines, finding those mates, and ultimately the mate that came through in the end, very pretty. So I was just wanting to show that, yeah, this line here, I mean, the advantage just continues once I gain the advantage. I never threw my win away. I might have made some moves that were computer suboptimal, but that's not suboptimal if it's winning, right? So. All right. Thanks for watching, folks. This was a fun, feisty game. This is the reason I have this channel. This is what I'm here for. So, hope to produce lots more of these. And it's good to be back. We'll talk to you later. Stay feisty.